But a little bit of a transition into my first storyline that I'm following does surround one of those drivers in the Stewart-Haas Racing stable. And I'm looking at the rookie class this year because I feel like we've kind of, become a sport where these rookie classes the last couple of years have just been extremely dry. I mean, we've had a lot of talent coming through the ranks, but I feel like the fight for rookie of the year just hasn't really been there. And I feel like we've got a trio of drivers. There's 4 in the running, but I think we have a trio of drivers who are going to be extremely similar this year in the equipment that they're in. But the rookie class this year, Josh Berry, Carson Hocevar, Zane Smith, and Kaz Gralla is actually running for Rookie of the Year as well this year. And just a quick little synopsis of each, starting with Berry on the SHR train. I mean, he's the most seasoned rookie at 33 years old. And, he has 12 Cup starts to his credit. He had that runner-up finish last year with Hendrick at Richmond. Of course, his short track racing on display. And like I said, winless in Xfinity in 2023, but he's a formidable driver, and he's got the best case scenario here. Again, the decline of SHR is apparent, but he's paired with championship winning crew chief and Rodney Childers. He's going to have more than likely the most resources at his disposal. And it's certainly the best case for Berry. And, I do think that, I mean, look, I don't know what the expectation is for him this year, but I think that he has the potential to kind of hover around the playoff bubble. I mean, that 4 car was right there last year. I know Berry is no Kevin Harvick, but still, you put him, who has a ton of experience, in this 4 car. I think that, eventually you'll see Berry have those flashes, and it will be a season of peaks and valleys, but I don't see why he can't be a 15th place car challenging for top 10s, on a week-to-week basis. You look at Carson Hocevar. I mean, Hocevar ascended to the upper echelon of the Truck Series last season, 4 wins. He, too, with Cup Series experience, 5 top 20s last year when filling in for Legacy. Yeah, I mean, Carson in the equipment and in the opportunities he has gotten has really he's really performed well. Even in Xfinity, in a couple of starts with Spire, he's shown a lot of really great speed. And I mean, he's got as much raw talent as anybody walking around the garage. Spire, unlike SHR, is a growing organization. They are certainly trying to dip their head in the hat a little bit more. I just hope to see a little bit more maturity out of Carson. We know he can rattle the cage. We know that, he has caused a little bit of bad blood in the Truck Series. He's made it a little bit more exciting, but I think he will show that maturity and it will translate into solid finishes, while still tampering expectations in, probably a 15th to 20th place car. He showed he could do it in a Legacy MC Toyota when that team was out to lunch last year. And Spire's got a lot of upside, not only with him, but with his teammate Zane Smith, who has the partnership with Trackhouse, will eventually probably be taking a Trackhouse seat. Daniel Suarez, that seat's probably a little bit hot. So we'll see kind of what the trajectory of his Cup Series career looks like. But Smith, too, 7 Cup Series races last year, had a top 10 at Charlotte, running for front row. He's a Truck Series champion. He's been one of the most talked about young and up-and-coming drivers over the last couple of years, and he's always elevated his teams. He's always made them better. You expect the same here with Spire. And look, the fact that all 3 of these guys do have Cup Series experience, I think makes this rookie class that much more compelling and that much more fun. So I hope these guys, kind of put on a show for us because we want to see these rookies compete and we want to see a tight rookie battle. That's something that I think has certainly been lost. But I'm excited to see what these 3 guys can do. And, not to discredit Kaz Gralla, but in the equipment that he's in, I think it's going to be difficult to really challenge, with these guys and kind of throw his name there in the Rookie of the Year hat. But of these 3, who are you looking at to kind of really make noise?
Of those 4, I would definitely pick Berry. I feel like where that team, they're on the decline, but just where they are, they're still pretty far above Spire. You think of what, LaJoy and what certain people have done, and they 100% they're on the incline straight up, and how they've dedicated themselves to NASCAR overall. We know, they took over Kyle Busch Motorsports in the Truck Series, and they have a lot of young drivers there. Guaranteed they're going to be running for the title there, and that's going to be huge for them. Because if you just jump straight into Cup, years ago. It was what, 5-6 years ago, and they won Daytona with Justin Haley in the craziest circumstances in 2019. But it's been a really tough uphill road. But just the path that they've done has really been interesting because it feels like they've been just taking over in a certain way. Competitively they're not there, but just as you said, these are two of the hottest young and up and coming drivers in the sport right now. And they got them. They got Hocevar and they got Zane Smith, and Zane's a champion. I think if Carson spent one more year in trucks, he probably would have been a champ. It's just the maturity side of him that, anytime he would win, the couple weeks later, he would be, taking somebody out or just losing his temper or something. And you're like, damn, dude, if you just keep it inside, you got a lot of fire, and people love that. And we saw that with Noah Gragson, and we're probably still going to see it from him this year. But what would you rather want? I guess I can ask you this, Mike. Would you rather have a driver who's super vanilla, got a lot of those guys, don't say a whole lot, they never get pissed off or angry, and they go out there and they run top 5, top 10, or you got a Carson or a Noah who win a bunch of races, but they're also getting embroiled in some controversy here and there? I mean, what's better for the team overall? What would you think?
Well, that's an interesting point. What's better for the team? I mean, what's better for the team is probably option A. Because if you have a driver who is, kind of closed off, he's not necessarily, he's putting the results on track, but certainly kind of staying true to himself. The team doesn't want to be in hot water, and obviously sponsorship is everything. So you want to ensure that these guys are on their best behavior. But I agree with you, man. I mean, then that's why I loved Full Speed so much, because you get more of an inside look into what these, how these guys what these guys think on a week to week basis. And me personally, I want the driver that's going to stir up controversy. I want the driver that's not afraid to take chances, because, you are in the NASCAR Cup Series. This is the most competitive form of stock car racing out there. And these are the best drivers in the country. And winning, especially in today's NASCAR, is extremely difficult, and it's everything. Knowing what it takes to win the championship. So I want a driver who's not afraid to take risks. I want a driver who is not afraid to say what's on his mind. I know that there's implications to that, but I'm not a team owner. I'm a fan, and I'm somebody, as a fan, I want to see that. I feel like a lot of these young drivers, they are groomed to say the right thing, right? And I feel like the personality aspect of what these guys truly race for is just lost, because there is so much more I feel like we could learn just about the direction of where these guys take every single race, based on what they say. And obviously it's translated on the track. But that's why I like Carson. That's why that's why he has made a name for himself, and he's skipping Xfinity entirely. I mean, Zane Smith as well. But you need a driver who's not afraid to take those risks, because that's where championships are won. I mean, look at Ross Chastain.
Exactly.
The Hail Melon, just pulling it out of his rear end. It's who else would have ever thought in their right mind to do that? And Ross is one of those guys, and that's how he's been able to be successful. I know that he's not making any friends out there, but you're not out there to make friends. You're out there to take home checkered flags. So for me personally, that's what I want to see.
And it's all about team culture, right? Like, Justin Marks, Trackhouse team owner for Ross, he was on Full Speed quite a lot, and he's just hanging back in his chair, and he's like, you know what? This is what I like to see out of our drivers. This is exactly why we pick Ross, because not only does he have that ability on the track, he tears up cars here and there, especially on his road up to Cup, but he also got the results. He got the best out of every single team he raced for. Back at BKR and trucks over 10 years ago, all the way through all the small teams. You think of JD Motorsports and Xfinity, that bright red number 4 car, couldn't miss it. Like, he was always given the best for his equipment, and he also made the headlines, and not always bad ways. Like, just you think of the culture of just the sport overall, they like guys who are fiery, who hate to lose. They hate finishing second. Kyle Busch, his whole career has been getting mad over finishing second. Like, he just wants to win and nothing else. And that resonates with people who are watching at home. So Ross has found a great home with Trackhouse, and I think Spire potentially could be that home for Carson. I don't think his career is going to end there. I think this is just the start for him, but you got to have that team behind you to get behind you from the start and understand who you are and not back off and go, oh, we can't have this baggage.